and agent matching. So without further ado, here's our project manager, Miss Africa.
Well, good evening, everyone. And thank you all for choosing to be here with us today, especially if you're in Chicago, because today is 73 degrees and you could be outside. So thank you for joining us on this evening on our Wealthy Wednesday Zoom call. I'm here to introduce our speakers. We have two for you on this evening. The first one, Nicole J. Wheatley. Highly inspired, Nicole J. Wheatley has worked over the past 20 years as a community development planner with a strong emphasis in business and housing development. She was the founder of Sensual Steps Shoe Salon, a premier high fashion shoe boutique in the heart of the Brownsville community, where I have most of my shoes from, I will add. She also owns Steps Inc. Consulting, a community development organization that provides comprehensive community plans to improve the quality of businesses, housing, education, social services, and health security. Nicole is the founder of Providing You Motivation to Pursue Success, known as PUMPS. It is a nonprofit education and neighborhood revitalization organization that is committed to strengthening neighborhoods and lives through homeownership and business creation. It is her son Ezra's 10th birthday. So she's going to go first, and she's going to get out of our way. But we love you so much, Nicole, and thank you. Won't you welcome Nicole Wheatley?
Thank you, Darlene. You know what? I just need to hire you as my personal commentator, baby, because you do a phenomenal job. So I am super excited to be here. And as Sister Africa Porter did say, today is my son's 10th birthday, and I'm blessed to be a mom. I'm blessed to be a wife. I am blessed to be a community advocate. I'm just blessed all over. And so I am going to move very quickly through my presentation, and then our girl Dana Jones is going to step in and take you all to the next level. So I am extremely excited to tell you a little bit about the work that we do and why we do it. I want to take you through the home buying process in 9 quick steps, right? I want you to be able to take a look and visualize that picture that you see on the screen of this family. That could be you and every significant other in your life that matters, where you understand that possessing a piece of land, owning property, being able to create a legacy of love for your family members and generations to come is worth taking the steps to being able to be the owner of your own property. I love their effort. It's called My Turn to Own. It's something very personal about that. Just stop for a minute. If it was saying something like, it's your turn, or it's our turn, or something else. But when they say my turn to own, it's very specific. That means that you take the finger and you point it directly at yourself because they're talking to you. And that it means that you visualize yourself and your family in this picture as we walk through these steps, okay? Step 1. I want to say, here's my thing. Even though step 1 for real estate is when an agent gets someone, they want to have someone pre-approved. But the step before that one step is definitely going through the My Turn to Own process so that you can make sure that you can prepare yourself for a person that's ready to be pre-approved. So let me just give you an example. If you go through their HUD counseling agency and get trained, and you'll be able to get your credit report, understand what situations you might need to fix. You want to do that first before you are transferred to a financial lender to ensure that everything is in order. They want to send you prepared for your pre-approval so that when you go get pre-approved, you are actually approved for a mortgage, right? So when you go through the HUD counseling piece, and please don't skip that part thinking, oh, I got this. No, get a support team in place for you so that when you're going through this process, you will know unequivocally, listen, I got a team working with me. they're going to be able to take a look at all my information and help direct me on how to fix my credit, how to ensure my taxes are in order, how to make sure that when I go to a bank says, hey, I welcome your business. I desire your business. And I can't wait to pre-approve you for a mortgage. That's what we want. So when you come to a realtor, the realtor needs to make sure that you have already been pre-approved. They need to know that you have a pre-approval sheet. That means that they've taken a look at you, they've taken a look at your information, and they believe that they can help thrust forward into home ownership with you. Step 2, you will find a dynamic realtor to work on your side, on your behalf, like myself or Dana or another person that you connect or work with. You want to find someone who understands what it is that you desire the most in the outcome of your home ownership. So that person needs to start to understand, okay, listen, do you want a 3-bedroom home with 2 baths? You want a big backyard? Are these some of the things that you really, really desire? You want that person to have a vision of what that looks like so that when we're out looking through the MLS, doing our searches, we can narrow down and send you what it is that we believe you will connect with, right? This is important information because when you go out and you just find somebody, oh, well, you know, my cousin Ray, brother so-and-so got their real estate license. So let me call baby Ray. Baby Ray, can you help me out here? Because you got a license. Well, you know, you want to do some history on that person and see what kind of deals have they closed. It's public information. A lot of times you can go on HomeSnap, look up our profile, and make sure that you're working with somebody who understands real estate and who knows how to get you to the finish line. That is important. So once you get that person, right, now the things that we would do is setting you up in an MLS search. I'm going to have a onboarding conversation with you where I take a look and say, what do you need? What do you desire? Where are we at financially? A really good realtor that you work with is going to look at your entire pre-approval. So when you get a pre-approval from a financial institution, I know you all have been through this process, but it is comprised of 3 things. Your mortgage, the actual amount of money that you're going to be paying the bank back, right? The insurance, that you have an insurance with, you know, whether you picked Allstate, State Farm, whoever it is that you chose to go with, you have them allocating a payment that's going to be going to them out of your mortgage. And then you also have your taxes. These things are unavoidable. These are the 3 things that's a part of your mortgage. And you have to pay these. And a bank requires that you pay them all in one amount so that they pay your mortgage and they pay the taxes to ensure that you don't lose that house that they have a connection with. They have a deed, you know, that's attached to them until you're able to pay it off. So when you have that information all together, then we're to look at that, right? We're to look at that information. If anybody was on the call last week, we had a brief discussion about this. If you got approved for $200,000, let me just use that as an example. The first thing I want to know, if it's not on your pre-approval, is how much you're pre-approved for your taxes. So they'll say, okay, well, this person was $3,000 is what I allocated for taxes. I put $100 for insurance and the rest is on a mortgage. See, the tax amount is very critical when we're looking for a home. Sometimes I get a buyer that comes to me and say, oh, I got approved for $200,000. I want to go in the suburbs, right? I want to be in the suburban area. So when they do that, right, and we take a look at it and we say, okay, well, if you want to go into South Holland, you know, the taxes over here on some of the homes that you look at, they might be $10,000. Now you take $10,000, you divide it by 12. That is what you're paying per month without including your insurance or your mortgage. So a good real estate agent looks at the entire pre-approval, understands their client's desires, and then our goal is to narrow down and help to find you what it is that you desire the most with what you're able to afford to purchase, right? You can't get mad at a real estate agent when they say, oh, that person only sending me things that they were approved for that's in a small area or this area, because I go through, and I'm sure Dina may do this as well, but we go through the MLS and we pull up information to show our clients. We get on the Zoom and say, hey, I want you to see some of the things that you're approved for so that you have an understanding of what you can afford. But I want to tell you one thing, that I know for sure, that there is a perfect property for the perfect price that's in perfectly divine order for you, and it has your name on it, and it's not meant for no one else but you. And you have to trust that process. So when we go out and we set you up for the MLS to do a search for you, we're pulling up information, trying to narrow down what it is that you like, and we start sending you detailed information specific to what it is that we understand that you might desire to have. Once we get a list of those out there, I do tell my clients, listen, go and do some drive-bys. Have fun with this process. Don't be tense about it. Go and do some drive-bys in the neighborhood. Drive by and see, hey, do I like this block? Because if you don't like that block, it makes no sense for you to even consider moving into it. People will say, I'm not moving on that block. I don't want to live there. Okay, cool. Do some drive-bys when you get your list, and then I'll set up appointments. We'll go out and have some fun looking for that divine property that you love. Now we're going to move quickly on to step 5 because I told y'all it's Ezra's weekly birthday and I got to get back downstairs to the party. Well, step 5 is once you see the property that you desire the most and you say, Nicole, I love this property. Dana, I love this property. Then guess what? We're going to put an offer in on that property for you. It's important to us to look at the comparative market analysis. We do a CMA for you. We send you the details and we say, okay, we decide together, what do we think you should go in? And ultimately, it's your decision. I want to give you a very quick example. One of my clients asked me for my personal opinion after I sent them the CMA on us getting a property that was very, very competitive. Everyone wanted this property, and I can understand why, because it was dynamic. It was awesome. It was phenomenal. I'm thinking, okay, well, let me say this. I think that we should try to go with this property. I'm just going to give you my personal opinion. If it was me, this is what I would do. This is where I would place it at. Hello? I'm sorry. Okay, so I would say this is what I would do. This is where I would place that at. And so when we would do that, a person asked me that as a suggestion. I give them the information based on what it is that I can acquire from the other realtor. Now, the other realtor is not supposed to tell me what somebody else bidded on it, but I can go off of energy. We go off of energy. We call them anyway. How you doing? I just want you to know my client want to place an offer on this property. We're thinking that coming in at, $350,000. This is a real situation. Now the property was going at $330,000. And it was we were going $20,000 over the property because it was a dynamic property. We knew that they had put the amount at a much lower amount to create a bidding war, which is exactly what happened. And so when I called the agent, I said, we're thinking about coming in. I got a conventional buyer. They're putting down XYZ, and we're thinking about coming in at $350,000. I just want to know what you think about that, or what you think your client would think about that. And I heard dead silence on the other end. And then she said, well, we got offers way more than that. So I knew then that wasn't going to work. Now, she can't tell me what those offers are. But at the same time, I have enough information to go back to my client, to go back to the drawing board for us to decide on how we're going to renegotiate that deal if it's a house that my client really wants. And sometimes when you look at the numbers, it just don't make sense. And it's like, listen, we need to walk away from this and remember that you're going to find the perfect property at the perfect price that's in perfectly divine order for you if you trust and believe that process, okay? Once we get an executed contract, that means that we found your dream home, like the one over there to the right or the one below it, either one. When we find that dream home for you, we want to get everything together. You have to have an attorney already. So you want to start interviewing attorneys now. It's okay to do that. Check with your realtor and say, hey, do you have good working relationships with attorneys? Usually we got about 3 or 4 good ones that you can interview and connect with the right one that works for you, that the energy, it works between you guys. And you choose that person to work with, right? And then we have an attorney review period when we get an executed contract. That means we got to go out. We're going to get an inspection done on that property. We want to make sure that everything is good. We want to make sure that the property is got good bones. Now, let me tell you something. An inspection report, I just had an inspection report that was 123 pages. It was extremely detailed. And that's what an inspection does. It gives you the health of the house. That doesn't mean, oh, Lord, that inspection report was 123 pages. I'm out of here. I don't want that. No, what does it say? They're supposed to look at everything, every little crack, every little small thing. And most things on those reports can be fulfilled with a small handyman. But then it's the big things that we got to look at. Sometimes we got to go back and renegotiate the deal. Sometimes we got to move forward, depending on the situation. But the attorney review period is critical in us getting the inspection and also the post-attorney review period. So sometimes we needed to have say to them, well, we need an additional extension on this process. And so we need more time to make a decision because some things came up. So in that process, those things are simultaneously kind of happening. And then we're coming back with a potentially the same offer, maybe a better offer, or offer that's better, absolutely better for you, right? So we decide, am I going to ask for some closing costs credits? Am I going to ask for some repairs to be done? All of those things are happening at that time, right? And so once we get through that, now you got the bank calling you. The bank is on you, like I'm telling you, they are on you like never before. They're going to call you every minute. Hey, I want to make sure that you got that document that I told you that I need. And you can't sit up there like, no, I'm going to get that to you. I'm going to get that to you. No, you got to get it to them quickly and peacefully. And you have to ensure that it is done well. It's my husband's second time coming down there because everybody wants prayer for me right now. I'm going to have to wrap this up real fast. Here we go. So now, as we get through this final pieces of us going back and forth, when the bank reaches out to you, listen, just do what it is that the bank say. Don't fight with the bank, because then you will not get the loan. And you want the loan because you want the home, and you want the home to create a legacy of love for you and your family. It is critical. We must possess a piece of the land. We have to own it. It has to be ours so that we can decide what we want to do with it. Am I going to use this for retirement for me? Am I going to give this to my child and my grandchildren? Whatever it is, you have power. You have no power in renting. And so we want to thrust you forward into home ownership and let that be your drive. The last thing is absolutely getting you to the closing table where you have possessed a piece of the land, that you own a home, created a legacy of love for you and your family for generations to come, that you yourself now is creating equity into a home that's creating all these amazing blessings for you and your family. Listen, I'm about to leave you guys in great hands with my girl, Dana. She's going to take it from here. God bless you all. Africa will give you my information if you have any questions or concerns that you can reach out to me. God bless you all. Love you. Believe in this process. Trust God and know that the perfect property that's in perfectly divine order for you at the perfect price is coming to you. God bless y'all and good night.
Thank you, Ms. Wheatley. Have a great time.
All right.
Have a great time. Happy birthday, Ezra.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wheatley. Oh my goodness, she gave us that information so quickly. Let me just acknowledge some of the staff members at My Turn to Own. You've heard from Ms. Shanaze Mobo. You've heard from Ms. Sade DeJour. Mr. Martin Torres is on with us this evening. Welcome, Mr. Martin. Also, the Chief of Staff of My Turn to Own, Mr. Donamichi Davis, is on with us. Mr. Donamichi Davis, did you want to say anything in the interim right now before we bring on Ms. Dana?
Oh, no. I really, I'm enjoying the flow of everything. And I'm sure that the individuals on here just want, some good content and some great information. This is one thing I do want to say about the process. Do not panic. That is your downfall. Do not panic. One thing that Ms. Wheatley was saying is, just as bad as you want to buy a property, trust me, someone wants to sell a property. And just as bad as someone wants to sell a property, there's someone out there that really wants to buy the property. So please do not panic. It will be very discouraging, frustrating, but you must act when it's time to act. But I'm going to hand it right back over to you, Miss Africa, and we can keep it moving.
Thank you so very much. Without further ado, please welcome DRG, Miss Dana Jones. Dana Jones, known to many as Catch Dana, has a considerable professional background in sales, management, training, and social work. All fields of study that have played a major role in her fast rise in real estate, Dana says, people are my business, as she empowers her clients to be legacy-minded and share in the standards, wealth building rewards of real estate. The movement is bigger than myself. It always will be, Ms. Dana said. Working in both residential and commercial sales with on and off market properties, Dana Jones has furnished the opportunity for many to be homeowners, property investors, and business owners of churches and more in various neighborhoods throughout Chicago. Her goal each year is to succeed her previous year's transactions, helping more families and individuals. As the daughter of a contractor, her love of real estate, architecture, and decor run deep. Dana is making it her business to educate, empower, and uplift people out of a poverty mindset. I'm gonna say it again. Dana is making it her business to educate, empower, and uplift people out of a poverty mindset. She has dedicated her life to service and finds no better joy in being of service than in the exciting real estate market of Illinois and soon to be Indiana. Dana's so fly, y'all. Y'all can see the flyness through the screen. I first met Dana, she was speaking at an event at a speakeasy. And it was an invite only. And I had seen her from across the room. I said, this girl's sharp. What she do? She do exactly what she about to tell y'all about. Won't y'all please welcome Miss Dana Jones.
Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me? Because my Zoom is doing something, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I speak a lot about, well, my topic today is it a good time to buy real estate, right? And the first thing I want to say is that, yes, it's a great time to buy real estate. First of all, the rates are still at an all-time low. Just 5 years ago, the rates were about 6% or higher. So we still at a position right now where the rates are lower. And at this rate, if we buy, even as the market fluctuates, no matter what, your value, your property will still have value. Okay. We talked a lot about fear. You're not fearful when you're paying your landlord's mortgage, because as a renter, that's what you're doing. You're paying his mortgage, you're paying into his retirement, right? So if you're not fearful to pay his rent and his mortgage and into his retirement, you shouldn't be fearful about your future. Okay. So that's the first thing. We have to eliminate fear. I noticed that Nicole talked a lot about spirituality. I literally live in spirituality in everything I do. And so I always tell people in the Bible, for instance, fear is, do not be afraid. It's listed 365 times in the Bible because it's telling you for each day not to be afraid. Okay. So you just have to make a decision in this environment in terms of wealth building, which is your divine right, to find out if you, just to make the decision and say yes. Once you say yes, it's like everything just falls into place. And and real estate, wealth building, prosperity, all of that is a long-term game, right? When I meet somebody, I'm asking, what do you want, right? You just want to buy a single family home and you're going to live there, that's great. Or are you at the position where, you know what, I want to buy this home and then I want to turn around and buy a building, and there's steps for that. For instance, as an FHA buyer, you may choose to, well, I take it back. The first step, for instance, if you want to buy a building after you bought a house, for instance, I would tell you perhaps maybe try to buy your house with a conventional loan for the first time. Because when you go and buy a building second, you will want to use that FHA loan, which is only at a 3.5% rate, right? Whereas on a house, a conventional could be between 3% to 5% on your house. However, if you make that second purchase with a conventional loan versus the FHA, it could be 20%. So just knowing those little things. So it's not about being afraid or when is the right time. It's really just about being educated and empowered and knowing what you need to do. Also, this is not the same market as your father, your brother, your sister, your granddaddy who bought 20 years ago. The market changes all the time. So the right time will be determined about your availability or your capacity to buy, right? There is something for someone as long as you have an open mind. Literally, I've done 203Ks, I've done commercials, I've done multi-units. All different types. And how do you get into the market? So once again, it's not really about being afraid. It's not about whether or not it's the right time. It's, are you ready? And what kind of process do you want to get involved in terms of, hey, am I going in as a single family home owner? Am I going in as an investor? Am I going in on a long-term game? I want to stay in this real estate game for a long time. We learn all these things by having a realtor who educates you on every step. Nicole gave you steps on just what it takes to be a homeowner in terms of the steps from A to Z, but it's so much more than that, because real estate, it is not for the weak at all. But I always say the home ownership is for grownups, because it's going to teach you something about yourself that you never even knew, right? It's not about just getting that property. It's who's going to maintain it. How do we work collaboratively to make things happen? Because guess what? Foreclosure happens often because of the fact that people just can't get along. You think to yourself, how does a family who has 150,000 coming in, why can't they just get along? Well, that was the case. Or why come they didn't educate their children, for instance, to teach them how to have a property? At the end of the day, it's about education that will take away your fear and let you know at this point that it's always a good time to buy, as long as you are pre-qualified, you have your paperwork, and you've done the due diligence. Realtors, good realtors, we come in and educate you. We help you understand why and what your options are. For instance, are you buying, like say a homeowner? Are you doing buying a home? Do you want to get in as a tax certificate? Oh, because sometimes people buy properties by buying others' taxes. That's why I like DR Realty Group. We actually specialize in tax certificates, and I'm doing about 3 of those. And you have to buy those with cash, and that is when you get a property after it has been lost due to foreclosure or something like that. And now you end up just getting the taxes that have been redeemed. Do you want to be a commercial buyer? What is it that you want to do in this game? In that regard, I just want to talk about that. For instance, when is it a good time to buy? When you're ready and when you say yes, because there's something for everybody. Okay. I think I've touched on a lot of that in terms of just when is a good time to buy. Going back to fear, please, whatever you do, if you feel in your heart, if you're ready, just go through the necessary steps to get involved in the real estate game. It is definitely your divine right to own the land. I believe that with all of my heart, especially now. We have more women buying more than ever. And that is a process. When we go in to buy, we're looking at special things. Like I said, do you like the block? Can you pull up at night at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, maybe you just had a late night. Is it enough room? Because maybe you're a single woman and you're dating. You don't want that bedroom real close to you as you're moving and maneuvering. It's so many different factors. And normally by the time that process begins and ends, we're doing a lot of talking. We're doing a lot of counseling. We're doing a lot of option, leveraging. Like I said, are we buying this property straight out? Are we doing what's called a 203K? Well, maybe we like this house and we just don't like the kitchen, for instance, but we're going to put $30,000 into the kitchen and use that specific loan. So that right there is a lot of information. I know I talk pretty fast. Are there any questions, or is there anything anybody wants to ask me?
Thank you, Ms. Jones, for that great information you are giving us. We do have a question from Ms. Alston. Can you please repeat the steps about buying a building, then buying a single family for rate purposes?
Okay, so conventional loan. Okay, so if you're going to buy a conventional loan is different anyway, right? And I want to talk about that too. I want to bring that up. So right now, FHA buyers are having a harder time, more so than conventional loan, okay? With conventional loan, they have less restrictions across the board, and they tend to appraise a lot higher. So oftentimes when you are buying a property right now, oftentimes the FHA buyer is kind of being overlooked first. Not to say it doesn't happen. I closed a lot of FHA deals, but if 10 deals come on the table and 3 of them are conventional, you better believe they're going with conventional, less restrictive, and they have just less restrictions, as well as they tend to appraise higher. Okay. But if you are in the long-term process of saying, hey, I want to buy a property, oftentimes people go with the FHA because they may get an IDA award or down payment assistance, and that's really great to a certain extent. But if you're in the process in a long term, I would suggest you doing conventional first, because on a house, it is always going, and first of all, a building tends to be more expensive. But on a house, the first time is 3% or 5%, okay? As opposed to the FHA, which is always standard 3.5% no matter what. When you make that second purchase though, that conventional on a building will if that's your second purchase and you can't use that FHA because you've used it already, it will always be 20%, okay? And not necessarily, I think it's a little bit different for a house. But when you're doing that, I'll give you a perfect example. I had a family who bought a house. Their first house may have been conventional 3% on maybe $400,000, right? But if they had to use that on the second building, which was $560,000, they would have had to pay 20% of that, as opposed to just 3.5. Even though they had to come up with like maybe 35, 40,000, just imagine 20% of what $560,000 would be. Okay. It's just a higher rate when you're doing a building. However, it's set up like that. Sometimes it can even go up to 25%. Okay. So on your first purchase, if you have to use FHA, great. That means that when you go to buy the building, you just have to use more money in terms of what you're going to do with what you're going to pay for on your building the next time. But if you have the option, whatever you do, make sure that you can possibly use a conventional loan on your first purchase. And because of the market, conventional loans are being picked first. It's not fair. We're in a seller's market. But right now, most realtors, when we get an FHA, we quickly ask our clients, hey, can you get a conventional loan? Because when we go into these properties to bid on them, we want to win. And it's not fair. It's not fair all the time, but our goal when we put that contract on the table or put that offer on the table is to make sure that you win. There's just so many different steps within that too. And she talked about bidding and, whether or not you're going to ask for credits, whether or not you're going to get closing costs back. That's a whole process, but there is a difference between the conventional and the FHA buyer.
Thank you for that, Ms. Jones. I do have another question from Ms. Lawrence Belinda. Will I be penalized for seeking a second pre-approval due to missing one document that was not obtainable within the time frame to close the loan?
You know what? You may have an issue in terms of maybe a couple points off of your loan. Off of your credit. But I've seen many buyers get a second pre-approval for whatever reason. It could be, for instance, I just had a client do it. I had a client who used a broker. I don't necessarily suggest a broker, particularly on your first home purchase. Listen, this is how you have to think about it, right? You have people who are on the other side. As the realtor, I don't care how good you are. You have all these realtors promising you this and that. I'm a selling agent and a buying agent. You have no idea what my seller is thinking. You have no idea what I am thinking. You prepare yourself to win. So for instance, I had a client who had a loan, pre-approval that came through a broker. It looked suspect because the broker is going to send you through several different entities. So he sends you through a FHA database and you end up with whoever can approve you, right? I quickly told her, I said, listen, you got to get another pre-approval. I said, because let's keep it real. There's some racism. She was trying to buy an Oak line and her name was a certain, ethnic name. And guess what? Sometimes, you have another seller and a selling agent. They're looking at your name. They're judging. I know realtors who have kept, the offer on the table, but simply because they didn't like their lender. So sometimes get that second approval. It's okay. It may take you down a couple points on your credit, but overall, if you're really high, you'll be fine.
Thank you. Our wonderful team lead, Ms. Shanaze, asks, what is the best way to position yourself to get a conventional loan?
Well, you have to follow whatever the guidelines are for your lender, right? And I'm going to say this to you because everything changes. The market changes, lending changes. There was a time they was giving down payments on the building for the FHA, and then they took it away, right? That was great. So if you're buying a $350,000 building and you still was getting 3.5%, you could still get a down payment assistance. And then they took that away, you know? So you have to follow the guidelines at the time. Right now, it might be about 680. It's always involving your debt to ratio. When you get involved with me, I try not to do the lender's job. I try not to do that because they get pissed. Everybody like to stay in their own lane. The lawyer wants to, that's why he's qualified to do what he do. I'm the realtor, I'm qualified to do what I do. And the lender is qualified to do what they do. What we do know is that most of the time, it may be a fluctuation of a credit score between 640 to 680. And above to get conventional, because right now I know some lenders who literally went down to a 520 to do a FHA. Your rate may be higher, but you're able to get a house, right? But that surely isn't going to cut for a conventional loan. That's just not going to happen. So you just need to make sure and talk to your lender, and they will definitely tell you what you need to do. It always involves your debt to ratio. It always involves, just overall your credit schematic.
Thank you. Ms. Alston said, thank you for that. Do conventional loans require owner occupancy?
No, not all the time. No, not at all. Because you can buy a building. That's what FHA is about. FHA is about for the owner. So when you do an FHA loan, first time home owner, if you do an FHA on a building, you're saying you're going to occupy it. Conventional, not, it doesn't have to have that. That's why people like conventional. That's why they do it. And sometimes I was just telling a seller of mine, because we had several people put in an offer with conventional, and they'll be the first one to kill a deal sometime because they kind of know they're special, right? They know everybody wants my loan first. And so they could put, I had a girl put in 2 offers on a house of mine, and literally she got both offers, right? And you have a time when FHA buyers literally are putting in 17 and 18 offers on a house in a seller's market. Right. And that's a sensitive step. It's not just putting in the offer. Like Nicole said, we work on energy. They want to know that you can put it in. We're literally selling that contract for you, that offer for you. We're getting on there telling them, saying, hey, this is my buyer. She's, maybe she's a single mom, or maybe she's a nurse and she's looking for a place for her family, whatever. But no, FHA is absolutely for owner occupancy. Conventional allows you more options.
Okay. And Ms. Phillips asks, what is a conventional loan compared to a FHA loan?
Well, it's just the type of loan, right? You have VA loans, in which veterans have. You have the FHA loan, which is for the homeowner. The first-time homeowner is for the owner occupancy. And then you have conventional, which is just a different type of loan. The rates are different, like 3% and 5% sometime on a house, and 20% on a building sometime. But if you are, but FHA is always 3.5 no matter what. The problem is, though, that once you use that FHA one time, you may not be able to use it again, except under special circumstances. Once again, the market changes. I used my FHA years ago. This is my 4th house that I bought. And when the changes went through with the 2006, 2007, I was able to come back and use this loan again. Or it might be a certain circumstance where you have been living on an FHA loan for a long time, and you've moved out of that house and became a renter. And then there's certain programs that allow you to go in as an FHA. But most of the time, you cannot use FHA over and over again, whereas conventional is totally different. You get it?
Thank you so much, Ms. Jones, for that wonderful information. Does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Jones? We do have someone with their hand raised. Ms. Smither, if I can ask you to unmute yourself. Ms. Smither? Okay, while we're waiting on her, I do have another question as well. How long is the wait to obtain a conventional loan after being out of a bank? I believe she's saying a bank, she put BK.
Okay, wait a minute. After being, how long to obtain a conventional loan in terms of after BK? Normally, I think it's 2 years. Bankruptcy. Got it. Okay, cool. So normally there's a 2-year wait, as I understand it. Once again, what I have learned, I have seen so many miracles in this business. What makes a good realtor is understanding about resources and how to get around them sometimes. Last year alone, I told somebody I snatched 5 loans from other lenders because they did not know what they were doing, or they were not advocating. Maybe they wasn't necessarily the right color and they just didn't have a sensitivity that I needed. But normally it's a 2-year wait. And what you should do is get with a lender who has the patience and the ability to want to empower you and give you the information. What we do is just simply giving information. That's it. If you feel empowered with me because I have taken your hand and just held you through it, I've counseled you through the hard times, I've showed up for your inspection, I've showed up as the selling agent to the appraisal. I've just done all those things. I do that for my clients and just make sure that they, are never left alone. And I answer the phone call sometime late at night, because sometimes this is the biggest purchase of your life and you're scared. And I get it. It's my job to motivate you and so forth. It's the same for the lender, and they need to be able to tell you exactly what you need to move to the next stage. And if you get an FHA loan, there's nothing wrong with asking, hey, what does it take for me to get a conventional loan? Because nothing makes me madder is when I get a pre-approval and then I find out that the pre-approval was just shot out. And you can't even do what you need to do with that because you don't have all your information. They just looked at your general information and they gave you a pre-approval based on what you said. I'm looking for a lender who takes you through the process from A to Z to make sure that you qualify for what you qualify. And then I want to know, not only for FHA, I want to know, do you qualify for conventional? Because I may need that in my back pocket. And if you can't, that's fine, but I'm going to ask. If you come to me with FHA, we will work within the boundaries. I've been very successful as a listing agent. I did 5 last year, dual agents, where literally I had properties on the market. My sellers came and I was able to slide them right into something I already had without any competition. It is a beast out here, but we just work it through. I know I go. Any more questions?
Yes, Ms. Smither, if you can unmute yourself.
Yes, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference between owning your own property and the rent to own?
You know what? That rent to own is when it's like really owner financing. It's almost as if you set it up, because you can't do it with a bank. That's something between you and the owner that says, hey, I'm going to pay so much towards the rent, and some of that money is going to go towards the sale of the purchase in the end, right? I want to purchase this house in a year. So I'm going to give you $1,600, and maybe you're going to put that towards my down payment. It's all how the owner sets it up for you. It's not very popular in terms of what we do. It doesn't happen as much as people, like to use it as an option. It doesn't happen much. It really doesn't. Normally, even if it happens, right, that owner can in any form decide to do something different. They own it. So, but it's just a agreement between you and the owner as to how the money that you're currently paying them towards rent will be used for eventually for the sale of the property to you.
Basically, it sounds like a scam.
Not necessarily. You have honest sellers and honest people who want to help you, but you just don't know how that's going to go, right? They can form an agreement, but really it's their house. And we hope they honor a contract, and how much of that money is going to go towards, the rent. It's all about the process. Some people will give you their property, but that's just the difference. You owning it means that you've already saved your money up. You've already been pre-approved. You've already got your own. You don't owe anybody except the bank. In this case, you're going to wait for whatever agreement that you and the owner come to agreement with. That's just the difference.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jones. Mr. Ware asks, what are some do's and don't tips you have learned over time?
Well, real estate is a long-term game. Like I said, it's not, you have to come into it with an open mind. You have to come into, it's funny, Nicole talked about fun. You have to have positive energy. Listen, I am going to motivate you. I'm going to walk you through it, but it is truly more, it's less about the sale than more so the process, right? It's trusting your realtor, being able to empower. This is what we're here to do. We empower you. We're going to counsel you. We become your best friend and your advocate and so forth like that. You have to be open, right? If you're willing to get in, be able to trust your realtor and to find the process that works for you. Maybe you want this house, like I said, but you want to use the FHA 203K because you want this house, but maybe just don't like the kitchen. You know how many people get rid of a property just because they don't like one part of the process, or one part of the house. And there are realtors who won't educate you on the 203K because they don't want to go through the process. Because guess what? When you do the 203K, you're going to get less money, right? If a property is at its full beauty, you're getting top-notch money for it. If I enter you into a 203K, I'm going to get the lowest amount on that money because the rest of the money goes towards your construction. So for me, education is my job, to be educated on every aspect of the sale so that I can advocate for you. And you as the buyer, I need you to be open. That's all. If you're open, I promise by the time we end, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. That's first. Save your money. Right? You're going to need some money no matter what. I don't care what they tell you. I can get you down payment assistance or I can get you closing credits. That might happen. Even with closing credits, you're on a deal, right? And we found out that the appraisal came back $10,000, less than what we put the bid in for, what the seller thought it was worth. If they need to negotiate on that deal, they may take away your seller's credit. So the first thing I always tell my clients, have the 7 to 8% in your bank account before you really start. Now, do we create miracles all the time? Sometimes you come to me and you just have whatever the seller qualified you for, and I'm able to get you closing credits, and maybe the lender is able to get you down payment assistance. You come to the table and walk away, literally have to pay $2,000 or nothing. Or sometimes you walk away with a check, but that's not how it works all the time. Things happen all the time in the deal. And remember, we don't own the contract. Own the property. The seller owns that property, and they have a lot to do with how things are dictated in the deal. So be prepared, save. Do not, in the process of a closing process, don't buy any big purchases. Don't use your credit. I had a guy quit the job. Like, listen, I'm going to educate you on everything, but I got to tell you not to quit your job while you buying a house. We still managed to help him close. He quit the job literally we were in the process 2 weeks. We didn't find out to the day after closing. To the day that he got to clear the close, that he quit the job because the team called to find out was he still employed. And so we ended up taking 3 more weeks. He happened to be employed, but he was an independent contractor. So we maneuvered that a little bit and we got that deal closed. Do not quit your job. Do not, spend any unnecessary money. Be prepared for such things. So when you first go into a deal, for instance, when you go in, you have to have your earnest money. And nowadays we may get away with $1,000 earnest money, but if we're really killing the game, we come in at $5,000. Right? And it's not what you want to hear. But remember, that earnest money goes back into the deal, into your financing, right? So when you have, let's say your deal is well, let's say your lender says that you need to come to the table with $10,000, right? If you put earnest money down, then you have to come to the table with $5,000 because you've already taken that money that you have already put up front. And that's like a down payment. That's called good faith money that goes back into the loan of your house. So even though I want to give you $1,000 earnest money to get you started on this contract, it'd be really great if you have a little bit more, because I'm gonna tell you, you may be in a situation where 17 people put an offer in and you want yours to look as good as you can. So save your money, have your earnest money that first 48 hours of that process. Your appraisal will cost you, your inspection will cost you. So money is important, okay? In the end, you may have a great situation where we got you down payment assistance and you got and you got closing credits. And literally, when I bought this house, I came home with a $2,200 check. But if you prepare ahead of time, you will be in a situation where you're not in your feelings or so upset, because at the end of the deal, you find out that somebody messed up somewhere or something happened and you got to come up with $4,000 at the closing table. And I have seen it. I've also seen some good lenders and realtors and good lawyers work it out. But if you're prepared, you have more power to get through the process, okay? Preparation, choosing somebody who works for you. I never put down other realtors. I really hate when I see it on Facebook, because, you know, God gives us all favor, right? And what I may appeal to somebody that doesn't appeal to somebody else. My passion may be something that someone loves and somebody else may not like. My desire to educate may be something that you might not want to hear because you want me to tell you what you want to hear versus what the truth will be. But just finding somebody that works for you, who really cares for your process, who really is looking out for you on both ends. For me, when I'm selling a house, it's about integrity. I have not sold a property yet that I would not live in. And so I'm looking at my buyer. I'm looking at what you need. I'm looking at how many bedrooms you need. I'm looking at all those things to find out if this works for you and what is your long-term gain. For women in particular, I'm looking at your safety. If I put you in a house that I'm not comfortable with, I can't do it. I haven't done it. You know what I mean? So we walk with God in this process because I'm looking at all of those things. So finding somebody you trust, saving money, understanding it's a long-term game, and understanding what do you need in terms of your lending. I think those are 4 things in particular.
I think that's excellent. Can I add on to that?
Sure.
And I may say some of the same things. I mean, you are hitting it dead on the head. Just like our guest was saying, count up the cost. I think a lot of people want to jump into the game and it's like, oh, I got $3,000, because the people are going to pitch to you 3 to 5% down. And you're going to think that's all you have to put down. And you're going to be wishing up on the star that the grants and things that come in. And don't get me wrong, there's a silver lining or a happy medium where it's like you do have to operate from a faith base to say, okay, I'm gonna get started, and I pray that God, takes me to the next level. But you got to do your due diligence, and you got to be real thorough and focused, and not hoping and banking on this check gonna come through the mail. Not saying that it won't, but you can't be banking on it. And every day you eat out, every day you at Krispy Kreme, every day you just
Right.
away. So another thing was buy on a level of where you at. Like, it's okay that if you can buy a house, everybody wants a 4 unit, everybody wants a 10 unit. I agree, I want it as well. But sometimes buying on the level of where you at will help you leverage to get to the next level. Because I'm gonna tell you something, the real estate
game. Yeah.
It is. The real estate game now, everybody is snatching these properties up. Not to say you need to be fearful that you won't get anything, but a lot of these investors are coming in even from different states and different countries.
Girl, yes.
Nobody's like really, invest in the community anymore. Another thing is, if you're trying to be a real estate investor, you have to run it like a business. You have to run it like you're a manager. You can't, I don't care if it's an extra $300 coming in or $400 coming in a month. You can't take that money, live off that money, and still think you're going to be a productive landlord. You're not, because now what's going to happen is the things that needs to be done to the property, you're not going to be able to afford it. So keep your day job Keep your day job and put the monies that you're getting from your properties, put it up in a separate bank account just for your business. And you have to manage that property like a business, have your paperwork in order. If that person is not on time with their rent, I don't care how cool you are, how, you know, great. No, you need to write that up, send it to them. You need to, if evictions need to be put in place, if you got to pay 150, they got to pay extra $150 for late fees or whatever you do, you have to put things in place. That's the only way that people are going to respect you as a landlord. Also, I need you do your own homework. A lot of people are banking on an agent to know everything and do everything. No, you have, and an agent can tell if you are doing your own homework. You do not want to be in a position where it's just like, oh, give me information. People have, let me tell you something. Proactive people cannot stand working with lazy people. All money don't spend. The more you weighing on me, I just want to, you know, cut ties and go my own way. I believe our guest said, save your money. I can't stress that enough over and over again. Have an end goal. When you're going into buying a house or trying to get an investment property, what is your end goal? You cannot afford to go into something without an exit strategy. Also, stop focusing on how pretty the house is. You need to focus on, is there equity in the home? Is there money in the home? Because what they're going to do is they're going to give you all this amazing glitz and glamour and pretty. Trust me, I can go to Home Depot right now. I can go get you what they call it, the stainless steel package. I can make it all just as pretty and tied up with a bow. And then what's going to happen when you come and buy it, you're going to not only pay, but you're going to pay an additional price just because it's what I call a quote unquote premium property. So another thing is, be a listener. Stop being so combative about everything. Work on your credit. I cannot stress that. These are things you can do right now. Every night before you go to bed, start YouTubing how to build personal credit and just sit there and listen. Don't cut corners. I cannot stress that enough. Do not, when you are hiring these people, make sure they're licensed and bonded. It is not always bad to hire people that's going to give you a receipt. If you keep messing with little Ray, if you keep messing with the, you know, I don't want to get into names, you know, we could play with the names all day, but if you keep messing with people that are not certified to do the work, and you trying to, what we call in our community, crackhead prices, you're going to pay a penalty for that. Because now what's going to happen when you go pay somebody that's licensed and bonded, and they come in, they're going to charge you extra to take out the stuff that the other person put in, and then to turn around and do it right. So, and then when you have people in your community, what do they call it when the inspectors come in, if that junk ain't right, you up the creek without a paddle. And last but not least, I would tell everybody on this call, seek for mentorship. You need to have a mentor that is in the real estate industry that can guide you and teach you. And sometimes it's best, even if they work out of a place of ethics, you need to make them a partner. Because what you're doing when you're getting, and listen, everybody can't do partnerships. I get it and I understand it. I'm talking about where investments are concerned. But what you don't want to do is don't have enough money, tap yourself out, and you don't have the knowledge or the understanding, have the leverage money for more money. And then you just got a property that needs $100,000 of work in it, and you tapped out, and now you doing a little work at a time, and 30 years go by before you can rent out the property. So that's my advice. I know it's a mouthful, and I apologize for taking over.
No, you're right on point. You really basically touched on both. Sometimes I give them a little, because as a first, I don't know if they're first time home buyers here or investors. And but you're right. All that touched on the 203Ks in terms of why take, you know, you might have to build the house, or, you know, buy where you are. Oftentimes you have buyers who are literally just like, I don't want it. I'm waiting for the buyers. I have a girl right now. She's waiting for the buyer's market, but we don't know when that's going to be. Right. And so if it's your time, if it's your divine time, you will know. And so those things, everything you said basically crossed into the same thing, right? It's kind of like the two, like buy where you are, know what kind of loan you need, know the differences, get somebody who can help you, but understand this is still your journey. You know, I have people who will hold out, like I said, because, you know, you brought your dad with you and he bought, you know, 7 properties years ago. for $12,000 and $13,000. And no, we're not getting properties like that now, except if you're doing a tax certificate, and even those are high now. And you know why? Because what she touched on is so true. We have so many investors that's not even from Chicago that are buying from in Illinois because the taxes here are a little bit cheaper. So your competition is not just your average buyer. It is, I have an investor, he owns 30 properties here. Okay? 30. And so he lives in California. We have more California people coming here and doing that. But I will say this, we do not live in fear. God always has what's for you, and something will show up. In the end, I always tell my clients this one very thing: persevere, have some fun, put positive energy on it. If you don't believe you cannot do it, I can't even really help you as much. But if you open your mind, if you just open your heart up, open your mind up, I guarantee you that property will be found. I've never not found a property for someone. We always do. I did 31 units by myself last year. And so that's what I want to leave it on. It's always a good time to buy. If you don't live in fear, if you just open yourself up and say yes, I guarantee you that something will be found. Okay?
Wow, thank you so much for all that great information, Ms. Jones. We really appreciate you coming here with all this wealth of information. Thank you again for all of that. Please leave in the chat box how people can get in contact with you. I know that people want to work with you personally, so please leave us with that information. Thank you to all the speakers that came on this evening. Thank you to our Chief of Staff, Mr. Donmichi Davis, and also our project manager, Miss Africa Porter, and also Miss Sade Dejour. We appreciate everybody here at My Turn to Own. And thank you, of course, to our family here at My Turn to Own, who come out every Wednesday, invite people. We love to see it, and we love to educate you and keep educating you. So again, if you want to get in contact with us, please look at our website, which is myturnToOwn.org, and we will be more than happy to work with you. Again, thanks for another lovely evening here on Weekly Wednesdays with My Turn to Own. Until next time, everyone have a great evening.
Wonderful. Thank you again for allowing me to speak today. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
No doubt. Take care.
Good night. Thanks, Dana.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.